Let's get straight to it then. It's D-Day for the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Theresa May. The British Parliament is set to vote on her Brexit deal in a few hours from now. The debate over Theresa May's deal is underway in the Parliament. The debate is expected to last for at least 6 more hours before the deal is put to vote. The deal faces opposition, not only from Theresa May's political rivals, but even from within her own party. Differing voices are emerging from within the government, with some members of the Conservative Party backing their leader's deal, while others are opposed to the idea.
Minister, is the Prime Minister's deal heading for defeat?
Certainly hope not, no.
If it is defeated, will the Prime Minister resign?
I certainly hope not, no. She's the right Prime Minister, and I hope the deal gets through. That's the most important thing today.
Are you worried we're heading for a no deal?
Yes, I am against no deal. I am for the Prime Minister, and I am for the withdrawal agreement today. And as the Daily Mail editorial said today, we need to put our country first.
I think the Prime Minister will make her case this evening to all my colleagues with force and eloquence, and I think there's no question of the Prime Minister resigning. The Parliamentary Party voted that they had confidence in her last year. I believe the Prime Minister is doing the right thing. I believe she should continue to lead the party in the country.
I will be voting against the withdrawal agreement because it keeps us potentially in a customs union without an end date, divides up the United Kingdom between Northern Ireland and Great Britain, and pays $39 billion for nothing in return. The people voted to leave. They didn't vote for a deal, they voted to leave. And this deal doesn't actually make us leave cleanly.
Earlier, the opposition had warned Theresa May of a general election if her deal is rejected by the legislature. In a heated debate, leader of the opposition and Labour Party lawmaker Jeremy Corbyn accused Theresa May of making efforts worth nothing to work with lawmakers. Corbyn also said that the Brexit deadlock was leading the country towards a snap election. Now, it all began way back in May 2015 when British voters elected a major Conservative government. David Cameron, who was to be sworn in as Prime Minister, said in his victory speech that there will be an in or out referendum on European Union membership. Less than a year later, in February 2016, Cameron announced that he has negotiated a deal with the leaders of the European Union, a deal which will give Britain a quote-unquote special status. He confirmed that he will campaign for Britain to remain in the 28-nation bloc. Along with that, the referendum date was set for the month of June. On the 23rd of June 2016, the United Kingdom voted on the Brexit referendum. Britain voted 52% to 48% to leave the European Union. The very next day, David Cameron said that he will resign in the light of the results because Britain needs a quote-unquote fresh leadership to take the country in a new direction. 3 weeks later, following a Conservative Party leadership contest, Home Secretary Theresa May took charge as Prime Minister. She inherited the burden of Brexit along with the responsibility to lead the country. And it's the only thing that matters when it comes to her retaining power. And now we have Mandy Clark, our London Bureau Chief, joining us live. And we also have Wion correspondent Kevin Ozbek joining us live from Brussels. So thank you both of you for taking time out. I'm going to quickly begin with Mandy. Mandy, talk to us. We are in the middle of the debate. 6 hours later, there will be a vote.
Yeah, absolutely. Theresa May is still plugging her deal. She really wants to come through, but for all intents and purposes, this looks like this deal will not go through Parliament. She simply does not have the support. A number of MPs, around 100 Conservative MPs, have said they will not back it. We know that the DUP, the Northern Irish political party that she needs to back her deal to get through, said they're not supporting it. So unless they all change their mind at the last minute, it looks like her deal is likely not to get passed through Parliament. Now, then she has to come back with a solution that isn't no deal, because that's certainly not where the parliamentarians want to go. But we will have to see if people change their mind and suddenly decide that her deal is the right deal.
Oh, well, what deal is the right deal? That's a big question, isn't it, Mandy? Mandy, stay with us. Let's quickly now take this across to Kevin, who joins us live from Brussels. Kevin, The European Union has pretty much told Theresa May that we cannot do anything more. How are they viewing these developments in London at this point in time?
Well, everyone here is just waiting to see what the results of that vote are going to be tonight. Is Theresa May going to lose by just a few votes, or will this be a pretty resounding, a pretty tough, a pretty huge loss for her? Because I think that's going to then depend what her plan B is going to be. Now, assuming that everyone is right here, that she's going to lose tonight, the EU is just going to have to sit back and wait to see what the Prime Minister's next move is going to be. UK media is reporting that she is a jet on standby. She could possibly be coming to Brussels tomorrow. If she loses by just a few votes, she could potentially come back to Brussels and say, hey, can you give me a few more reassurances when it comes to that Irish backstop? But what if it's a huge defeat for her tonight and we see a move of no confidence from the Labour opposition party? Could we possibly then be seeing a Prime Minister Jeremy Corbyn in the future? And what is that going to happen, or what's going to happen then if he then comes to Brussels and tries to completely renegotiate that deal? So the bottom line right now is there are a lot of unknowns.
Oh, a lot of unknowns. Mandy, how close are we to fresh elections in the UK? Jeremy Corbyn wants it, but considering the difficulty that this deal is facing to go through and the chances of it not going through is high, do you see a realistic possibility of new elections in Britain?
Well, there's always the possibility. Of course, her own Conservative Party ran a no confidence vote and she won it. Jeremy Corbyn is a bit of a distraction because he is pro-Brexit. He has always said that he would support a Brexit deal. Now, can he get a better deal than she can negotiate? That is a big question. But there's a contingent in Britain that are hoping to look for someone who'd be a Remainer and just stop Brexit there and then. We don't have that in Jeremy Corbyn. He will continue along the Brexit track. He's always said that. He's open to a second referendum. Again, that is a distraction because a lot of the voting intentions that were shown in the polls show that the people in Britain really haven't changed their opinion. The people who voted to leave still support their leave position. The people who voted to remain still support the remain position. So a fresh referendum would likely not get us any further down the track. So in a new election, it would be difficult to see how there could be a new election and then for him to renegotiate a deal all before March 29th. That's an incredibly short time frame.
Right, so renegotiation by Corbyn with the EU, the possibility seems that much more difficult. But Kevin, you did say that Theresa May has a jet on standby and she could be in Brussels tomorrow in case the vote doesn't go through the UK Parliament. What do you think is Theresa May's request to the EU when she's sent back by the Parliament?
Well, we know that the reason so many MPs oppose this Brexit divorce deal is because of that Irish backstop component of it. That's the insurance policy that the EU has engineered into the divorce deal and has made sure that it's in that divorce deal. And a lot of the Conservative MPs back in London are so upset over that because they worry that could then they would use the term trap them under EU laws and regulations, at least in Northern Ireland, to make sure that that border between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland will stay open. Some of those Conservative MPs have told the Prime Minister that they want a time limit to be on that. So by a certain date, like December 31st of 2021, that backstop would have to essentially no longer be into effect. Well, Brussels has said all along that is not at all how we view this. That is not at all what we are going to do with this backstop, and we will not allow that. We have to ensure that that border always stays open to make sure peace is maintained on the island of Ireland. So what really could Theresa May come and get from the EU that she hasn't gotten already? It doesn't look like there really is all that much.
Doesn't look like there really is all that much. Is the word coming in from Kevin Osbeck, who joins us live from Brussels. Thank you, Kevin, for being with us. And of course, our London Bureau Chief, Mandy Clark, joining us live from London. Thank you, Mandy, for being with us. Shifting focus away from that, keep in mind the vote comes 5 weeks after it was postponed because the government had been likely to lose. So what are the possible scenarios? Starting with the least likely outcome, a miracle could take place overnight and scores of lawmakers might suddenly find themselves rallying behind Prime Minister Theresa May's plan. The vote goes through and the process moves on smoothly. Everybody's happy. Well, almost. If lawmakers reject the bill, then the default position would be a no-deal Brexit. The law is already in place, which means that the United Kingdom will leave the European Union on the 29th of March 2019. If lawmakers vote against the deal, the UK government could propose to negotiate a new Brexit deal, and there could be a complete renegotiation. That would take all that much more time. If that happens, then the UK would have to make a request to the European Union for an extension from the March deadline. Theresa May could also opt for an early general election if the Brexit deal is rejected in order to get a political mandate for her deal. She does not have the power to call an election, but she could ask lawmakers to vote for an early election. This course of action could involve a request to the European Union to extend the date of Brexit. If the proposed deal is rejected, the Labour Party could call for a formal vote of no confidence in the government. Theresa May could herself call for a trust vote to try to reinforce her authority. And lastly, the UK government could choose to have another referendum, and that would require an extension of the date of leaving the European Union as well. There would have to be a new piece of legislation to make a referendum happen and to determine the rules, such as who would be allowed to vote and etc., etc.